What's up, everyone? Happy week 8 in the NFL. It's Chris and Ash. It's Onorato and Miller. The NBA is underway. We are on the verge of the World Series. If you're watching us live on a Thursday night across News Channel 13's Facebook, YouTube, and X, we've yet to play game one. If you're catching us over the weekend on TV, we are one game into this thing so far, and will be the lowest rated World Series in history.
Maybe.
We'll see. Look back on recent World Series matchups and tell you how bad that was. I don't think it will be, and I'll explain why. We've got 3 guys in the NBA now with Capital Region ties. We talked about it all summer long because of the Summer League, but now Kevin Huerter, Andre Jackson Jr., and Jalen Pickett are all in action in the NBA. Major contract extensions in the NBA. Already guys talked about being traded, and they haven't even played a game yet. Talking about Joel Embiid. And we are jumping ahead a week a little bit. We're looking ahead to the Breeders' Cup Classic with Ed Rusty Skeals, a 91-year-old man who first went to a racetrack at 2 years old in 1935. Can't wait to talk with him about how he sees the Breeders' Cup shaping up. We got a lot to do, Ash.
He knows a lot, man. He's like we said, he's going to educate us, but cool guy and just super sharp, knows more about horse racing than I could ever. I've probably, forgotten it all.
We've got the Marcella's Appliance MVP of the month to hand out and our Performance Industrial Dirty Difficult Done, those week 8 picks as well. It was ugly last week. Let's go.
This is Onorato and Miller, sponsored by Appliance.
All right, Ash, boy, where to start with this show? We're going to kind of jump around a bunch of different places. So let's start with the NFL because it is always king. The trade deadline is coming up, and we've got some teams to try to figure out, and that'll be my dirty difficult done. Is I don't know what to make of a couple of teams that are over 500 and have looked really impressive at times, and then they absolutely put up some stinkers. But let me ask this question first, just to kind of get us going here. Should the Giants trade Saquon Barkley ahead of the Halloween deadline in the NFL?
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Remember, he's on that 1-year contract. They tagged him. He didn't like it. They worked out a deal where he's making just a shade over $10 million this season. So,
I mean, I guess ultimately you shop him. You try to shop him and you see what you get, because if you get some unbelievable deal, which I don't think you're going to, then maybe you do it. But from the Giants' perspective, I say no. Yeah.
Well, okay, Sam and Ash, play it out for me then. What would it take for the Giants to trade Barkley? If you say depends on what they can get for him, I hear you. Yes. If somebody said, "Hey, we'll give you, Christian McCaffrey," then what would it take?
You have to address needs. Listen, they need offensive linemen like nobody's business. So I think even if you can get pieces that are just on a little bit of a longer term deal, draft picks are always good. You're not going to get a high round draft pick for him, but I think if you can get players who can play now that are going to address needs, but that you're not going to lose, but you're not going to lose them after this year. Like, I'm not trading a year of Saquon for a year of a lineman and a D-back. Like, I don't want that. So I think if you're looking at someone who from a lineman position, it needs to be somebody I have for like 3 years.
Here's the problem. Barkley is only going to go to a contender. A contender is not going to trade you a starting offensive lineman.
No, and how many contenders need Saquon Barkley?
Well, Baltimore is an interesting team because of the injury to J.K. Dobbins. If they were to add Saquon Barkley, it feels like the Ravens become a serious contender.
Yeah, but then you talk draft capital. If you don't have someone who can, you're not going to trade away a piece to a potential contender, then you trade draft capital. And that's fine too. If you don't think realistically you may not sign him back again after all the stuff that you went through last offseason and trying to get him to sign the contract, the 1-year deal that he's currently on, are you not going to do it again anyway? Then okay, who cares?
Sam's watching. Good to have you back this week, Ash. You were here last week. We were just at Novice. But Sam's from memory a couple of weeks ago, and that's okay. He's got a good long-term memory. Carol, good evening to you as well. And Sam points out that maybe the Ravens will go after a guy like Derrick Henry. Maybe. The Titans are kind of interesting here. They've already traded Kevin Byard, the really good safety, to Philadelphia. Do they continue kind of a little bit of a fire sale? Is there a market out there for Ryan Tannehill? And do they move him? Would they, my goodness, would they trade Derrick Henry?
Then you're giving up.
Well, yeah, and that's okay. You reboot the whole thing because you're either going to play a rookie quarterback in Will Levis or a second-year guy in Malik Willis. Yep. So you can reboot the whole thing. I just feel like if you want to try to give your rookie quarterback any chance, you give him a really good running back or a stud receiver. The Titans don't have a stud receiver. They had one, A.J. Brown.
Yep.
And now he's gone. So on the Barkley thing here, I don't think the Giants will trade him, but I think they should because I just don't see them winning even next year.
Right.
Last year
they were.
I know. Last year feels like a one-off for this team. You're not high on Daniel Jones.
No, well, I never.
He's the starting quarterback next year. I don't know. I mean, is this team good enough to win a division next year? Philadelphia is a world beater. It feels like a reboot for New York.
I don't know if Philadelphia is a world beater, but
6-1. They had won like 12 straight regular season games before that loss. I don't know. To me, right now, they're the clear best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what you can get.
Okay. All right. So maybe not a should, but a might.
But I think should try. Should shop. But yeah, I don't know that you pull the trigger depending on what you get.
I just said I think Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC. Last week, I think I said the Niners are the best team in the NFL. And then go back 2 weeks from that, and I said maybe the Bills are the best team in the NFL.
We've talked Lions.
Certainly talked about the Lions.
Every time we declare a team the best team in the NFL, the next week they lose. And it was the Eagles and the Niners both lost on the same week. I think we talked about the Lions.
Mm-hmm. They got blown out in Baltimore.
We talked about the Bills.
They were terrible.
They couldn't figure it out. What's the curse of the O&M?
No. I've said this for years. As soon as you think soon as you think you know something about the NFL, it proves you wrong.
Sure.
It's wild to me. What do we think we know going into week 8? That Baltimore has found itself and is a top tier team in the AFC. Watch, they won't play. They won't play well now.
Right.
We are down on Buffalo. They will blow out Tampa. By the way, quickly, just get this out of the way. Buffalo is going to blow the Bucs out tonight. Home game at night, coming off a couple of bad performances. I think Josh Allen has a big game. Bills will score.
It's nice out.
At least 28 points. Allen will go close to 300 yards, if not more. And they will cover the number, which is like 8.5. So I'm big on Buffalo tonight. And that's just my thing. It's like the NFL's pendulum swings literally week to week.
And swings wildly.
Aside from Kansas City.
Yep.
This pendulum swings week to week.
Yeah, for every single team. And as for your question that you threw up here,
yeah,
I don't know that the NFL has figured out Brock Purdy as much as, listen, you go through injuries. McCaffrey was injured not this past week when they lost the week before that. They're dinged up, but also I just think, and Dan Orlovsky may have said this after their second straight loss, which the second one was to the Vikings, that for a while, Brock Purdy was allowed to make mistakes and they were letting him play freely because it was working, because the rest of his team was playing at an elite level. Okay. So him being able to play freely and not worry about interceptions and not worry about taking risks was a good thing. But now his team is not playing at an elite level. So every mistake is amplified. And now people are looking more at Brock Purdy and how his play is affecting. So it's an interesting thing because he's right. His teammates have not played as well. And it's then affected how we view Brock Purdy and maybe how well he's played or hasn't played.
Okay. I think, I don't think this, I'm with you. I don't think this is so much the NFL figuring out Brock Purdy. I think this is Brock Purdy coming back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is not going to be Tom. So all the
It's
people
not
who
gonna
are
blow
like,
you away.
well, Tom Brady was a 6th round pick and
Mhm.
Brock Purdy was a 7th. It can be done. Yes, it can be, but it's already been done. It's not going to be done again.
No.
Purdy is a good quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not even a very good quarterback. Now, to Orlovsky's point, and I love me some Dan Orlovsky, to his point about making mistakes, last week against the Vikings was the first time Purdy had thrown 2 interceptions in a single game.
Yeah.
So he wasn't making game-changing mistakes. He may have missed a throw here or there, but it wasn't like, oh, we're not going to be able to overcome that from Purdy. He was so steady and consistent, and on top of that, accurate.
But when your team is playing as well as they were, you don't worry about making you worry about making that mistake late against the Vikings because you're trying to put together a game-winning drive.
Okay.
I just think like when your team is playing as well as it is and you're playing free and easy, maybe that's the style that he needs to play versus like just clutching the ball a little tighter, maybe.
But the Vikings only scored 22 points.
I know.
Don't you think? Here's what I think on that too. I think the Niners were playing so well because Purdy was playing so well. The defense didn't give up 35, and it's like they asked Purdy to do otherworldly things. Yep. McCaffrey was certainly healthy enough. He scored 2 touchdowns. They didn't have Debo, but everybody else was on the field. Like I think Purdy isn't getting enough credit for the success the Niners have had in the last year.
I don't disagree.
So,
but he's surrounded by
he's just struggled a little bit here. Look, the numbers are 12 of 27. 21 of 30, pretty darn good, but 3 interceptions in the last 2 games and not a ton of yardage. So,
but I bet how many quarterbacks have thrown 3 interceptions in their last 2 games? Probably almost every quarterback in the league. Probably almost every single one of them.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know. I just
so
think
we're both saying no, but to the question, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I think no, but I do think when you are breaking down the positions around him, like Debo Samuel is arguably maybe he's not the best receiver in the league, but he's the best utility player, Swiss Army knife type player.
He's the Niners'
in the league.
Best receiver.
Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs and especially pass catching running backs in the league. Like he has, and obviously their defense is great. He has a lot of things around him that make his job a lot easier. Like a lot of quarterbacks would say, yeah, sign me up. I'll play for the Niners.
Yep.
So that,
and he has maybe the best offensive play caller in all football, and Kyle Shanahan. The defense is phenomenal. I just am curious at 5-2, is this a bump for the Niners or is it a little bit of a detour? That's kind of what I'm thinking here with Purdy and the Niners. Because I've already said it weeks before. Oh, they're the best team in the NFL. And now I'm thinking at 5-2, maybe they're markedly behind Philadelphia, which got a really nice win against Miami.
Yeah. So Philly's your best team in the NFL right now.
Does it matter what I say anymore?
Well, it doesn't matter what any of us
because
say.
I'll come back on here next week and say, well, I was wrong last week. I thought it was the Eagles, and actually it turns out to be the there isn't even a good contender.
Yeah, I think it's the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Detroit. I've been on Detroit before.
The Eagles and the Chiefs, but yeah.
Are you buying that there's anything behind Travis Kelce's performances with Taylor Swift in the building compared to her not in the building?
I mean, no.
When she isn't at a game, he's averaging like 40-something receiving yards a game.
Yeah, fewer.
Like 40 for the game.
Oh, okay.
When she's in the building, he's
over
100.
Yeah, okay. So 60 fewer. I'm not buying it, but the sample size is very, very small. Because you're only talking this season.
4 games, I think. Are we talking
4 games she's been at and probably 3 she hasn't. So it's a small sample size. But maybe
I'm buying it.
Maybe he loves the idea of the pressure of his rich, famous girlfriend sitting up in the box with all the cameras on him and everybody's like, oh, Taylor Swift. Maybe he loves it.
Okay. This goes for the boys and girls. Go back to when you were in recess.
And you wanted to light it up for the girl watching you?
The girl you were trying to impress was watching you play kickball, whatever it was. You played better. You were super motivated to play. That's exactly what's happening with Travis Kelce. Yes, Sam. Go back to recess. I'm telling you, this is exactly what is happening with Travis Kelce. And if we know anything about Travis Kelce, he probably hasn't matured much beyond the age of.
No, he's still playing recess. Like, he's
So-
still at recess. You're right.
He is definitely like, hey, the girl I really like is watching. She's here. If I play well, maybe she'll kiss me on the cheek like that picture we saw. He is 100% more motivated with her in the building. I'm buying in absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I buy that. It's just a small sample size for me.
Let's take a quick break here on Onorato and Miller. Still a lot to get to here. Breeders' Cup breakdown with that on NBC and Peacock next Friday and Saturday. We got to get to the NBA for sure now with that season going. Kevin Huerter and the Kings, Andre Jackson Jr. and the Bucks. Really interesting look in Milwaukee now with Damian Lillard. Is that team built to win a title in Andre's first year? And the trade wins already in Philadelphia. They have to deal one of the guys. It's got to be Harden or Embiid because there's no way they're going to coexist together. We're back right after this on our Onorato Miller.
Fall in love with camping all over again at Alpenhaus RV. As another season comes to a close, we look back on a summer of sunsets, late-night campfires, and countless memories. Extend the excitement with a new summer retreat for you and your family. All month long, find amazing deals on new and pre-owned RVs from the nation's top brands, like this 2024 Coachman Catalina for $162 a month, or this 2024 Keystone Cougar for $387 a month. Visit us in Amsterdam or Saratoga, or online at alpenhausrv.com. Alpenhaus, your total camping outfitter.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Appliance.
Back on Onorato and Miller here. All right, Ash, we do this at the end of the month every month, and there's one guy who has absolutely blown us away in the month of October.
It's time for the MVP of the month, sponsored by Marcella's Appliance Center.
And our people at Marcella's, Johnny Marcella, Nick Matalone, our Marcella's Appliance MVP of the month goes to who else? Now,
It felt like a slam dunk.
I like to say Adolis Garcia. Most people say Adolis Garcia. Either way, he's tearing it up. How do you like to say it?
Well, if I'm going with a Spanish pronunciation, I would probably say Adolis, like you.
Yeah.
Or at least Adolis, like, you know.
Everybody goes Adolis Garcia, and that's
yeah,
fine.
That's the American way to say it, probably.
He doesn't care what you call him. He doesn't care if you throw at him. He's just going to continue to hit home runs.
Sure. You're going to call him the
4 straight games of the
Championship
home
Series
run.
MVP. That's all he cares about.
15 RBIs, as Ash said, in the ALCS. That is a postseason record for any series. And he's hitting 327. He has been a monster all year long. He led the AL in RBIs for most of the season until Kyle Tucker caught him and passed him.
Mm-hmm.
But he has been the middle of that Rangers lineup. This I know, and we'll get to the matchup and the ratings and all that in a second. I think it's going to be a highly entertaining series. And this guy is just a lot of fun to watch. Did anybody before 2023 know this guy's name?
Before 2023, yeah, probably, but not many.
Yeah.
But he also plays a good outfield.
Yeah.
Like, the dude's not a bad outfielder, and I think he's going to rub some people the wrong way.
No doubt.
But he enjoys playing the game. It's very clear that he loves the game of baseball. And I thought it was fun. I thought you know me. I love the back and forth, like, just tit for tat of the celebrating and you know, all the stuff. We saw his monstrosity of a home run, like, he literally walked the first baseline and then, like, spiked his bat, and we were like, whoa, what happened here? But then we saw all the prior stuff leading up to it, and then him getting hit by a pitch and benches clearing, people getting thrown out of a baseball playoff game. I don't know the last time that I remember anyone getting ejected from a real playoff baseball game, because the stakes are too high. You don't do it. And yet you get Dusty Baker getting thrown out. Like, it was fun, and he revolved. It all centered around him.
Did we say hello to Carol yet?
We did.
Okay. Well, hello again, Carol. Speaking of Dusty, he is retired.
Yep.
74 years old. He gets his World Series last year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he went out on a high note. But
Well, not the highest.
well, I know. I mean, in terms of being thrown out of a game in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
Sam likes the Rangers in 6. Okay. And, you know,
I like that.
look, there are going to be people who feel this way. You said it. He's going to rub people the wrong way. We're talking about Garcia. Garcia plays, you know, it's funny. I was going to default to the lazy comparison, but I won't here. I'll use it and then I'll contradict myself. Garcia plays with the same flair that you see a lot of Latin players play with,
Yes.
Cuban, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, you see a lot of
But
this stuff from Ronald
Bryce
Acuna.
Harper plays with the same type of emotion.
Yeah.
And like that dude can bat flip
Yeah.
with the best of them.
Yeah, I always
He's out of the dugout as if he had a little league teammate that just hit a home run. Harper is out of the dugout onto the field celebrating when one of his guys hits a home run. So Harper plays with as much in your face flair as any of these Latin guys or Cuban guys are, right? Because it's kind of in their blood, we always say, but it's across Major League Baseball now. And I love that.
Yeah, me too. Do you think it's a double standard? And I only ask you this because I think, and listen, Sam says too much of a hot dog. So he's going across the board, no matter if you're a Latin player, if you're a Bryce Harper. I feel like Bryce Harper gets judged more harshly as an American-born player because it's almost like he's not doing it because he is having fun or loves the game. He's doing it to be kind of a jerk. Versus like these Latin players, whether they're from, like you said, whether they're from the Dominican or wherever they're from, they were born with this natural love of the game, and this is what they're doing. They're just celebrating and having fun. Versus Bryce Harper, who's not, he's doing it to showboat.
I see.
Is there a double standard there?
No.
Or is it just for Bryce Harper that there's the double standard?
No, because I think that guys like Acuna are criticized and people don't say that's the way he plays because he loves I think they call him a hot dog. I think people look at Acuna and say that's too much. Yeah. Jose Bautista. Remember the Jose Bautista bat flips? That wasn't like the guy loves the game.
Yeah.
It was this guy is a jerk.
Well,
now I never felt that way.
He doesn't. That wasn't Jose Bautista's thing on a 24/7 basis.
Right.
Ronald Acuna Jr. plays the game like that
all the time.
Pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
So that's wherein lies the difference between a guy like Bautista and a guy like Acuna.
Yeah, I just think their personality differences. Like Austin Riley from Mississippi,
I mean, he
isn't playing that way. Aaron Judge isn't playing that way.
But that's what I mean. Do we just judge Harper differently?
Maybe. I didn't think of that because I don't look at Harper and say, oh my gosh, what a jerk, because he just celebrated that home run.
You look at every Philly and say that.
That's true. That's very true. I'm not upset that they lost. That's for darn sure.
Close your ear, Stacks.
Yeah, I know. Two of my good buddies, diehard Phillies fans. And we had a conversation. Honestly, I think it's worth having here even. You know, would you root for a team you dislike simply to see a friend or maybe even spouse happy? The answer is no.
No, I mean, no.
The answer is no, you would not.
No, not a team you dislike. Like I root for your Braves because it has no bearing on me.
Right.
But this is another conversation we had. So we're out to dinner. There's a bar. We're sitting at a table watching the Phillies games with your friends or your friend who's a big Phillies fan. And a guy at the bar is a Mets fan and he's rooting for the Phillies. And Chris says, I can't imagine what world we're living in that a Mets fan would ever root for the Phillies.
Right.
And I don't think Jeff...
A world in which that Mets fan has no clue. That world.
I don't think Jeff had heard that comment, but I brought it up. I threw Chris under the bus later and was like, no. He is not rooting for the Phillies. In fact, he hates your team. And it was like, what? But I would never root for the Red Sox. I was okay with the Orioles because that's a team that has been harmless for 100 years. And
I was okay with the Nationals how many years ago? 3 years ago now, because it was kind of fun to watch them win without Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
And everybody hated the Astros in that moment. So I could live with the but no, generally speaking, you would never root for a division rival.
I agree.
No matter Grandpa could be on his deathbed and hasn't seen his team win in 50 years.
You're not going to root, but you're okay with it happening.
All right.
Yes. for sure.
Right.
At least that would be my impression. That's how it would roll. But I would never root for the Red Sox. I would never root for the Blue Jays.
No.
I mean, I do hate the Astros a lot. So it's hard for me. If it's Astros and like Phillies, it's hard for me because I don't hate the Phillies as much as you do. So I would root for the Phillies.
I have a cousin we both love from Houston.
Oh,
now she is a Yankees fan now, having lived in Connecticut for part of her life, but her parents still live in Houston. And so this was something we got from my aunt and uncle who are from Houston, who live in Houston, and at the baby shower.
At my baby shower on Saturday, she gives this.
Should we light that on fire live on the show?
She gives this to a Yankees fan. And I said to her, "Aunt Honey, I'm going to use this as kindling. Like, I am going to burn this thing. Like, I don't know why." And she was like, what? And I'm like, why would you give this to me? I hate the Astros. You know what happened after she gave this to me? They got annihilated in the next 2 games.
That's true. They didn't win a single home game in that ALCS.
No.
Isn't that wild?
No.
The road team won every single game in that series.
I texted Allie. I said, "Your mom sent me a pennant for the Astros to my baby shower." I said, and I'm almost like happy to take credit for what that team has done since, because it's been nothing but lose.
And now, Dirty, Difficult, and Done. Sponsored by Performance Industrial.
Bill Miller is the man at Performance Industrial. Love that guy. Had a chance to see him very, very briefly last week when we did the show live from Novice with country music singer Ray Lynn in the house. And Bill's done a great job all month long for the American Cancer Society.
So have you.
And Real Men Wear Pink. Bill's done a lot better.
Well, sure.
All right, Ash, this is you. You're up.
This is my Dirty Difficult Done. We mentioned World Series ratings. I believe that these World Series ratings are going to be a difficult pill for Major League Baseball to swallow. That's not me saying that I don't want to watch this World Series. I won't see every game, but I will casually watch some of it. I just think it's amazing that if you think about this, the ratings are going to be bad. It's 2 small market teams. It's 2 teams that probably nobody thought would be here. What? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, Dallas and
but
Phoenix are
Arlington is not like I get it, but you're not thinking it's Arlington. It's not quite Dallas,
but it's the Dallas metro area.
I get it.
Okay, but I understand what you're saying.
It's not New York, LA, and the teams that Major League Baseball would prefer be in this. Okay. But it's amazing, and I think it's good for baseball because it should give every baseball fan of a mediocre and to be honest, a not very good team hope that these things can turn around like that. First of all, the Orioles had done it maybe not quite as quickly, but these are 2 teams that 2 years ago were in the basement by 15 plus games in their respective divisions. I mean, they combined to lose 212 games
last year.
2 years ago.
Oh, I thought they were both 100-game losers last year. Okay.
They might be, it was 212 2 years ago. Yeah. So, I mean, that just tells you, obviously they did it 2 different ways. Like the Rangers went out and spent big money on guys like Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. They obviously gave Jacob deGrom a huge contract, which he hasn't played for them, and that doesn't seem to even matter. So they've done it differently, and yet you've gotten the same result for 2 teams that were bottom of the division, 100-plus game losers, and now they're both in the World Series. So I love that for baseball because it just proves that I think there's a lot more parity than people really know that there is. But I don't think the ratings are going to be good.
Okay. So Sam says ratings have been bad for years. No matter who's playing baseball has a problem. Now, baseball, the first sentence is true. Sam's missing one word in the second sentence, which is used to. Those are 2 words.
2 words, yeah.
Baseball used to have a problem. Baseball has fixed the problem
for the most part
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And the rule changes have fixed it.
It's been good.
The speed of play, we call it pace of play. There's more activity in this postseason. Stolen bases and batting average are way up. way up.
I mean, you're not
Phillies
seeing,
had a game where they had 6 stolen bases.
yeah, you're not seeing 1-0 games. Like we were used to seeing. We saw it a little bit in the wild card and early rounds of pitching heavy. This has been very offensive heavy. The DS, the ends of the DS, the entire basically ALCS, NLCS, a lot of runs scored against really good pitching. It has been offensive heavy. It's been home runs. It has not been like the last couple of years in terms of being pitching dominated.
And I'm not here to tell you that the ratings are going to be great, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as we think they're going to be. I really don't. I could be proven wrong.
Pretty amazing.
Here we go. These are the last 3 World Series are the lowest rated in history. Now, the COVID year, you can say what you want. Maybe people weren't watching, but it was the Dodgers and Tampa Bay. Okay.
And we had nothing to do other than watch baseball.
Then you had Atlanta and Houston. Now, and this is in order. So 2020 is the lowest rated World Series ever. Then you had Atlanta and Houston. And then last year you had Philadelphia and Houston. Major markets, major television markets, and people weren't watching. And Sam's point is right here. Baseball had a problem, but they don't anymore, or it doesn't anymore. The rules have really fixed a lot of this. People didn't want to sit down, and the NFL is going to run into this. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. People didn't want to sit down for 3.5, 4 hours to watch a baseball game where nothing was happening.
We sit down for 9 hours on a Sunday.
I know, but that's because they're consecutively played.
I know.
The NFL is going to have a problem. Those games oftentimes last way. And it doesn't matter how close the games are, how entertaining they are. People only have so much time to commit to sitting in front of the television. And baseball is ahead of the curve on that. Can you believe that? Baseball is ahead of the curve of some of the other sports in this. So it's been bad for a while. I really don't think it's going to be as bad as, and yeah, start time is
I don't disagree. 7, you got to start at 7.
That would be nice.
Forget the 8:15, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, start at 7.
All right, quick time out here on Onorato and Miller. My Dirty Difficult done, still to come, and the NBA. We haven't done.
Yeah,
we haven't jumped into that yet. Back right after this.
Teams, athletes, organizations. We're transforming the custom apparel industry through product and purpose. Claim your crown.
You've heard of unsung heroes. The men and women of Naiskoba are the unseen heroes. For the past year, you've learned about our many charitable endeavors. Now it is my privilege to share with you the work performed by our members, the 20,000 state correction and law enforcement officers shielded from view. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions and are an extension of the police who protect our neighborhoods. Naiskoba honors New York's police and firefighters and salutes its own members who help deliver a peaceful night's sleep.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpine House.
A lot to get to still on the show and not a lot of time to do it. Here's the news of the NBA that's really creating some waves. James Harden showed back up. He left the Sixers. He showed back up wanting to play, I guess, or to just make the situation uncomfortable enough maybe that they then decide we have to trade this guy. He's in the building. That was the Brett Favre thing with Aaron Rodgers. Favre showed up in Green Bay finally was like, we got to get rid of this guy. Well, it didn't work out the way Harden wanted to. Not yet anyway. Sixers say, hey, great to see you. Stay here. We're going to Milwaukee.
Yeah. Listen,
ugly in Philadelphia.
I mean, they said all the right things. Nick Nurse has said he hasn't played in 10 days. We're going to keep him with the G League. We're going to get his legs back under him. Yeah. Maybe we'll see him on Sunday in the home opener.
No. Giannis signs a monster extension. You know, do the math on it, and your head just goes, whoa, $60-some million a year.
62?
Now, it's part of a bigger deal, so it's not all just 3 for $186, but still – he will have seasons in which he makes $60+ million. The NBA salaries are insane,
amazing.
huh? And we've got our three guys, Huerter, Jackson, and Pickett going. Never before has the Capital Region had I say that, but like, did it way back in the day? I don't know.
Maybe.
This is
I mean,
impressive.
Pickett's not quite ours, but
Yeah, right. Ties.
he's ours.
That's
Yeah.
ties.
Yeah.
So some good stuff there in the NBA. The Kings, I don't know. Can they live up to what they did last year?
They're
Did they
fun.
take a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, they're
We'll
fun.
see.
Even in the opener, they were fun.
Yeah.
They run great offense, and they've got a lot of talent, and I think they're going to force Huerter to work hard for his time this year.
Sam's going to see Bucks Knicks. His son is a huge Bucks fan. He told me. Huge Bucks fan.
Interesting.
And one thing here before we go to break and our Breeders' Cup
that's low.
handicapper, Bills will go over that. Carol
I think
asks,
so.
what about Jeff Hoffman? Well, NBA
Great
and Major
season.
League Baseball, and Hoffman pitched in a lot of postseason games and was pretty darn good. They went to him in some high leverage situations, and for the most part, he performed pretty well.
Yeah.
So good on him, because it's a little bit of a rebirth
for
him in a lot
Yep.
of ways.
Yep. And hopefully it gets
he's earned a
him-
contract.
Yeah, it gets him a contract, hopefully.
He has certainly earned a contract. All right, let's take a quick time out here on Onorato and Miller. Our Week 8 picks still to come, and a really fun conversation. I hope you guys enjoy this with Ed Skeals, who is a diehard horse racing fan at 91 years old.
He's our new handicapper.
Tell some great stories. We're back in a minute.
Heard of unsung heroes. The men and women of Nyskoba are the unseen heroes. For the past year, you've learned about our many charitable endeavors. Now it is my privilege to share with you the work performed by our members, the 20,000 state correction and law enforcement officers shielded from view. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions and are an extension of the police who protect our neighborhoods. Nyskoba honors New York's police and firefighters and salutes its own members who help deliver a peaceful night's sleep.
Fall in love with camping all over again at Appliance RV. As another season comes to a close, we look back on a summer of sunsets, late night campfires, and countless memories. Extend the excitement with a new summer retreat for you and your family. All month long, find amazing deals on new and pre-owned RVs from the nation's top brands, like this 2024 Coachman Catalina for $162 a month, or this 2024 Keystone Cougar for $387 a month. Visit us in Amsterdam or Saratoga, or online at alpenhouserv.com. Alpenhouse, your total camping outfitter.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Appliance.
Welcome back to Onorato and Miller, and we're honored to have this next guest on
We're about to
because
be educated.
we educated. This is perfect. Mr. Ed, we are about to educate us on the sport of horse racing. Our next guest is Mr. Ed Rusty Skeals.
Mr. Ed was a horse.
I know Mr. Ed was a horse.
Oh, yeah, I
And
remember Mr. Ed.
that was a good one, too. Mr. Skeals, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to call you our horse racing handicapper because that is indeed what you are going to do for us. But I know your horse racing knowledge and love goes back long beyond ours. The first time you ever went to a track, you were 2 years old. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. But I do remember the fact that the Nielsen farmhouse was out in Saratoga Lake, and that's where my grandmother was. And the Nielsen house on the battlefield was my great grandfather or uncle. Nobody's quite sure what he was. But that's where we went to the track. My father took me to the track that day. I know about it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
So we're talking the first time you were at Saratoga Race Course somewhere around 1943, 1938.
How about 1934?
Ooh, he remembers the year. That's pretty good.
Incredible.
Pretty good.
Unbelievable. All right, so you're going to help us out with our Breeders' Cup picks here because as if you ever went to the race course with me, you would know I need as much help
Me too.
as I can possibly get.
Well, let's be honest about this. We all need help when we at the horses.
It's called gambling, right?
Yeah,
You
There's
never,
a risk in
you never
it all.
know.
fair enough. But with Breeders' Cup next weekend, and you can see it on NBC and Peacock, there are just some really good storylines that go into this, right? Before we get the draw and before we know exactly what horses are positioned where, there are really good storylines to talk about coming out of the summer, which is always the meet at Saratoga. And look, the Breeders' Cup Classic is the one that everybody really will kind of focus in on. So when we look at that, the jewel of the weekend in a lot of people's eyes, handicap that for us a little bit. Before knowing post positions and stuff like that, where do you immediately go and say, this is the horse to beat?
Well, I think in that race, you're going to go with Jana Antonucci's horse, Arcangelo. And I think he's going to be the favorite, and she trains him right up to the race instead of putting a race in between.
Yeah.
But she did that for the Travers. She did that for the Belmont, and it worked fine. And I think it will. But Bafford's horse,
Arabian Night.
Arabian Night is very quick. And sometimes the horses, I don't know how many entries are in that race. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be like the Derby where there's 20 horses coming from everywhere. I just think that the 4-year-old White of Barrios, I think he's going to run a big race, but I'm stuck for some reason on Zandon. I just think this horse is sitting on a heck of a race. I really do. I mean, his last race down in New York, he just blew the field away. He just effortlessly. And I just think he's sitting on a big race. But again, you come to the fact you're running on a different track.
Yeah.
How you doing with that consistency of that track? Are you that good on that track? Some horses like it. Some horses don't like it. But I would go with them 3 horses or them 4 horses and put and there's another one in there. Let's see.
So Zandon's a little bit of a dark horse for you, would you say?
Yeah, I kind of like.
There's Mage too, who obviously.
Oh, here it is. I got it right in front of me. I can't see it. Saudi Crown, Brad Cox's horse.
Okay.
Saudi Crown's a good horse. He's tough. He runs up. He runs his race every time he runs. That's his race. It's going to win or it's going to lose, but that's his race.
So, Ed, let me ask you, as you talk about a Chad Brown horse, of course, he's from Mechanicville, Capital Region, dominates the New York circuit every single year. But when you mention names like Baffert and Cox, 2 trainers who are based in California, do you care at all about horses that have to travel east to west for a weekend like this?
Some horses travel fantastically. You wouldn't even know they'll get off the plane. They'll go the next day for a workout and they'll handle it easily. There's other horses won't. So a lot of that has to do with that. And the other thing about this whole thing is the post positions. A lot that means an awful lot. And also, you've got the best colony of jockeys I've ever seen out there. You've got the best of the best. That's it. And I don't even look at the turf races. To me, the Europeans are outstanding. Warlike Goddess just blew the field away in New York, the other day. Yet in the morning line, she's going to be 14-1 against the Europeans. And the Europeans this year are sending over their A game, not their B game like they did last year. So I would love to see Chad Brown win maybe 2 or 3 of the grass races, but I just don't think they can.
Wow.
I know Chad has one of your favorite horses of the weekend in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and that's Goodnight Olive. That's 7 furlongs, 3-year-olds and up.
Yeah.
Why do you love her so much? I think a lot of this is going to be based on who is not running against her, which is going to drive her price probably down and her odds as well.
Oh, absolutely. Echo Zulu would have won that race. Period. That's it. There's no discussion. The only horse that can beat Olive is Echo Zulu. So that moves Echo Zulu to the top of the list. And she's what? I think if I remember correctly, she's like 5 for 5, something like that.
I believe she's 4 for 4. She was 4 for 4 in 2022. Then lost to Echo Zulu in the Ballerina over the summer.
But she ran second to Echo Zulu, right? So Echo Zulu is out because of the leg injury.
Yep.
and this has got to move Olive up.
Yeah.
But again, again, the horse shipped from here out there. So, hopefully the workouts are good.
Yep.
That's a big thing about that. And the Europeans, I don't blame the Europeans coming over. You're talking $4 million in that classic in a mile and a half. That's a lot of money to be doing now. And there's the one race that I do like a little bit is the Idiomatic. I don't think anybody can beat Idiomatic. I really don't.
Breeders' Cup Distaff.
I think this horse is just totally, totally outstanding. And
I mean, that horse won 7 of 8 races just this year alone.
Yeah, I just don't see. And on the 2-year-olds, I liked Locked, Pletcher's horse, and I like Muth, Batford's horse. Okay. I like them both. I think they both got but I sort of lean a little bit towards Muth because it's a local horse and it's running on that track. But I just like horse racing. I'm not a big bettor. I just love horse racing. I love to see it. But I'm not like my daughter. My daughter, she goes to the racetracks and bring a book.
So you don't study the program?
No, she doesn't buy the program. She just brings a book and just goes to the track and reads.
Goes to read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Picks based on like the name or the color or something. That's how I do it sometimes.
Oh, well, I see. I can't tell you on this talk show how my wife used to pick a horse, but in a different way.
Hang on, I've heard this story. I think you can tell it. I think it's clean enough. If I remember this correctly, if a horse pooped right before the race, she would pick that horse because she'd say it's ready to go.
She would pick that horse. And one night we were at the harness track. Yeah. I always remember this. And they had never had 9 horses in a race. They had 9 horses this night. Horse was from Texas. And my wife wants to bet $2 on it to win. So I went in the back. I didn't bet it. The horse didn't have a chance, right? Paid $108. So I had to come up with $108.
Oh, had to shell it out of your own wallet.
Right. I was going to say, you can't say you didn't bet it. You just have to pretend like you did. Here's my $108.
Yeah, that was it. And I just love going there. Like this year, we went to the 4-Star Day Room, and we had a great time there. And actually, surprisingly enough, we won. Actually won money. Patty won quite a bit. And I think I had 3 triples that day.
Well, they're all getting your advice. Of course they're winning.
I was going to say it must be it's in the genetics. They're getting their horse racing knowledge and mojo from you.
No, my daughter Patty is a good handicapper. She really is. And Kathy's not the greatest at handicapping.
We won't hold it against her. We won't hold it against her.
But we used to go. When I came back from Korea, which was 1953. About 1955, I believe it was. We used to take my vacation just in August. And there was one day I had my oldest daughter with me at the track. And I had been we had a camp in Lake Luzerne, all right? And I had been teaching her to swim at the lake. And all I can remember is the horse was swim to me. And the horse won. And she ran around telling everybody we were rich now.
Sometimes that's the way it goes, right? Sometimes it's the fluky things or the good storylines. And people, one last one from us before we let you go here. Speaking of storylines, Cody's Wish captured the hearts of America. And I think a lot of people were let down and a little sad when he lost last year or this past summer at Saratoga in the Whitney. But he's running again. He's going in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. What do you think of him? Does he bounced back to winning the Bosberg not that long ago? Do you think he runs a big race and gets back in the winner's circle to repeat in this race?
Absolutely. I think in all honesty, of all the horses in training right now in their individual things, like the mile, the 7 furlongs, and the distaff and so on, he's the best horse in training right now. That's my opinion. And I think that he will blow. Actually think he'll blow that field away.
And that's saying a lot, because you've got potentially, I know we don't know the entries yet, but potentially a horse like Mage, National Treasure, Charge It. Those are all potential contenders and possibles in that race. So that's saying a lot.
You know what I wish they would add to horse racing betting? This is way out there and it'll never happen. But in every single game, I can bet how many the Lakers are going to win by. What a great feature it would be to, you say Cody's Wish is going to blow this field away. I wish you could bet Cody's Wish by
8 lengths,
5 lengths or 6 lengths. Yeah, that's it. You know, the other thing that I don't like entries at racetracks, because you're going to get a good horse and you're going to get a bad horse, and then all of a sudden the odds are down. Every horse should be against the other horse, regardless. But I just love racing. I'll say, hey, this afternoon, for a quick thing before you let me go, I'm sitting in the den and I got the TV on. My father always called my mother Jake. Okay, that was her nickname. Horse running at Finger Lakes, Dancing with Jake, right? I just turned the TV on, so I just happened to see it as the race was going off. Dancing with Jake paid $48 this afternoon, but I had just turned it on just now. So sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you don't get lucky. But as long as you keep it under control, you're all right.
Well, you mentioned your time in Korea. We know that you served, and we thank you for that. And you were a very good athlete in your own right. I heard you played volleyball for the U.S. team. Can we end on that?
Yeah, sure. We got, in fact, I think I got the trophies downstairs. We won.
I heard.
Before we were in Japan, and we played 47 straight games, won 47 straight games.
Wow.
Then all of a sudden the thing in Korea erupted, and we all ended up in Korea that night. But it was we won 47 straight games. Well, and in fact, here's a cute story. I have a thing in the back. All right, we played, and this was 100 years ago, I think. We played in the YMCA tournaments around the state. All right, basketball, Schenectady YMCA tournaments. We won the tournament. We won the state tournament. All right, and not bragging, just the way it happened. I was voted as the most valuable player in the tournament, right? In the article that Harry Shave wrote, he said the tall, thin, redheaded sharpshooter. I see that. I was just going to mention that. And so I showed it to my grandson, right? The article. And all he got out of the whole article was, "You were thin once, Papa?"
I heard that's why a lot of your friends call you Rusty. It was the red hair did it. A lot of his friends call him Red.
They call you Red, Chris? Do they call you? Yeah. And I was trying to figure out. In fact, I think Patty asked me today, why did they call you Rusty and not Red? Because I was redheaded, But I think there was a guy on the street that was redheaded also, so that's why I ended up Rusty.
Well, listen, someone like you who's had your service, someone with the athleticism you have, and anytime you have red hair, you're always welcome back on the show.
And horse racing knowledge.
Yeah, this was great for us, and I know our viewers too, who lean heavy into horse racing. So
I'd like to take you out for breakfast someday, the two of you.
That'd be great.
Then we could meet in person. How's that?
We'd love that.
Would you? Okay.
Yes,
well, I'll go through Kathy and we'll set it up. All right.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Mr. Ed, not the horse, but the horse racing handicapper. Thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. This won't be the last time.
It was my pleasure.
I don't care what kind of stories that's been told on you. That may be a lot of things in life you used to do. If you can't give true love to me, I'll understand. Just do the best
2.6 carbs, and 95 calories.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpine House.
That was fun with Ed Skeals. Boy,
Amazing.
does he know a lot about a lot? The answer is yes. We've got a lot to do before we say goodbye for the week.
And now, dirty, difficult, and done. Sponsored by Performance Industrial.
All right, Ash, we've got our Week 8 picks to do here still on the show, but I'm going to do my dirty, difficult, done here quickly. Man, it's difficult to figure out what is going on with the top two teams in the AFC East. I picked the Dolphins to win the division. They're on track to do that at 5-2, but Miami has not beaten a team with a 500.
They haven't beaten a good team.
Miami has not beaten a team over 500 since week 3 of last year.
Yeah. And McDaniel was quick to say, like, yeah, we get it. We haven't beaten a good team. No, you haven't.
So they've been impressive in their victories, but who exactly are they beating? Nobody good. Nobody good. All right, let's get to our picks. How did we do last week, Ash? These were our games. Chris, not so good. Not so good,
Actually,
Chris.
Not so good either.
0-4. Whoa.
We're tied.
17-17. We're both sitting at 500. Here we go. Our games this week. Jets and Giants were both on the Jets here, despite that old home dog for Big Blue.
Home dog for Big Blue.
Nothing to add there. Okay,
No.
we're moving on.
No, I just thought to myself, did I really pick the Jets? But I must have. I don't remember.
I think you did.
Okay.
We're both on the Jaguars here. Again, another home dog in Pittsburgh. Jacksonville's the better team, but Pittsburgh's a tough team. They don't. People say, well, they're not good because they don't win pretty, but they win.
Who cares? Yeah, it doesn't matter how you win.
Well, we both like Jacksonville to cover the 2.5 number. Okay. Patriots and Dolphins. I'm subscribing to the theory that Miami is ticked off and going to bounce back big time. And also, Patriots are bad.
Yeah.
But Miami beats bad teams. Yeah. Patriots are a bad team.
Yeah, they played better last week than they have
beat Buffalo
in a while. But I wasn't sure on this one, but I wanted to be different and I wanted to try to separate myself. And I thought that you would pick the Dolphins. So I went with the Patriots just to try to get myself some separation.
Bengals at the Niners. We do the show live on a Thursday. We don't know about Brock Purdy, concussion protocol. And even still, if he plays, I still like Cincinnati. I think the Bengals are figuring it out.
Yeah, me too.
I will take the 5.5 here for Cincinnati to at least keep it close.
Yeah, the one thing that is a little bit is that we're playing in San Francisco. That could be tough.
No Debo still.
But I do think San Fran has some things to figure out. We talked about it earlier in the show.
Okay. And the last one of the week here, this is the Sunday Nighter. What a terrible primetime game. Justin Fields questionable, but that's a big number for me. 8.5.
It's huge
for a Chargers team that again isn't good. They're not good. They should be much better than they are. The head coach holds them back. Give me Chicago to keep it close.
Yeah, the only thing that I was hesitant on was the number, but I still just think the Chargers are a better team.
Recap of the week's picks here. That is
too different again.
It has to be better than last week.
Well,
it has to be.
We say that, but
last week was so bad, it has to be better. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend.